What Luka Doncic is doing this season is completely unprecedented, and what he's doing cannot be put onto a single tweet. That is why in this video, I will do my best to put everything that Luka Doncic has done this season onto this one video and explain it in depth. Last year, I made a video on his defense that got me over 200 subscribers and over 10,000 views. But this time, the video is going to go even more in depth, and I hope that Laker Nation watches. Let's look at some basic top 4 MVP candidate stats. For the season, Luka is averaging 33.6 points, 8.3 assists, and 7.8 rebounds per game. Even though it's pretty obvious, I will state it, among MVP candidates, this would rank him first in points, third in rebounds, second in assists, first in steals. Jesus. While this is highly impressive, this is not nearly enough for people in today's NBA due to the fact that the NBA is highly efficient. So why don't we look at these same stats after January 1st, 2026? Luka's splits are 48, 39, and 75, which gives him a 62% true shooting, equal to that of Jokic, and higher than that of Wemby's, lower than Shai's. But if you look at effective field goal percentage, which is a metric used in the NBA to measure a player's scoring efficiency adjusting for the value of 3-point shots. To put simply, effective field goal percentage makes sure that 3-point shots are taken into account, because as we know, 3 is bigger than 2, therefore a 3-point shot is more valuable than a 2-point shot. Since the new year, Luka is right at 57.7 effective field goal percentage and Shai is right at 58.5. There's less than a 1% difference between them, and they obviously clearly gap Jokic and Wemby. Now, you can look at Luka and say, wait, what the hell? Shai is at 55% from the field and 88% from the free throw line. How could the discrepancy in effective field goal percentage be so low? Well, because Luka Doncic is making more threes and taking more threes. Since 2026, Luka is basically shooting 40% from 3. He's attempting 11.1 threes per game and making 4.3. That is incredibly dangerous and highly efficient. This is in no way shot-chucking or inefficient. If the statistics say Luka is destroying you by shooting a 3-point shot, he's gonna keep shooting 3-point shots, and he's making 40% of them ever since the calendar turned to 2026. How about we contextualize this a little bit? Let's look at previous MVP candidates and their effective field goal percentage. LeBron, 55 in 2011, 60 in 2012. Jordan, 52, 52. Jokic, 62. Shai, the year he won MVP, 56.9. James Harden, 54.1. Do you see a trend? I don't either. You want to know why? None of these seasons were considered inefficient, but Luka's considered inefficient. Matter of fact, if you gather the average effective field goal percentage out of all these MVP candidates, Luka's still above that. So Luka has an above average effective field goal percentage, and he is still considered a shot chucker and inefficient, which is completely false. The fact that Luka's effective field goal percentage is this high, and yet he's shooting 11 threes per game, justifies the fact that he's taking them. Now let's talk ball hog. Is all of this because Luka is a ball hog? Chris Broussard constantly nitpicks and goes at Luka for being an all-time ball hog. He has also stated multiple times that this style of play is suspicious and is most probably not going to win him a championship. Let's see if this is true. So is Luka a ball hog? Is he all dribble like Chris says? Let's compare their finals run stats. Luka has a time of possession of 8.5, Shai 7.6, but then when you look at the other numbers, average seconds per touch, Shai has Luka beat there, 6.21 compared to 5.69. Average dribbles, 6.07 compared to 4.99. 42.5 passes compared to 55.5 passes. So not only was Luka dribbling less, his average seconds per touch were less as well. So what is this big discrepancy in their playstyle? I mean, Shai's doing all the dribble here. And of course I'm going to talk about their final stats, because this is where Shai won the championship and Luka didn't. But Luka was called the ball hog, Luka's playstyle was scrutinized, and everything he did was criticized. But Chris's big worry that his playstyle is not MVP or championship caliber is completely false. What I am seeing here is that Luka was dribbling less and passing the ball more, yet the results weren't the same. So this disproves the narrative that Luka is a ball hog, that Luka's inefficient, that Luka doesn't pass the ball, that he's all dribble, dribble, dribble. Oh, but excuse me, mister, I want to know how these stats compare between them today. Shai dribbles more, about 1.30 times more. Shai also has a longer average seconds per touch. Do I even need to get into the passing? And then now a new narrative that I'm seeing around on Twitter and social media is that Shai has to carry a bigger offensive load compared to Luka because J-Dub has missed 40-something games. And while that's true, I personally don't think that compares to the amount of LeBron, Austin, and Marcus Smart missed games, which is a total of 60 games missed combined. There is no way on earth that anybody believes that LeBron and Austin missing these games isn't more hurtful to the Lakers than J-Dub missing some games when Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has another all-star in Chet Holmgren, a candidate for DPOY in Chet Holmgren, probably the best backup center in the NBA, 3 first-team all-defensive caliber players in Caruso, Cason Wallace, and Chet Holmgren himself. I mean, brother, the numbers don't even lie. The Thunder are a net positive plus 6.5 without Shai, and their defensive rating would still rank best in the NBA without him on the court. This means that while Shai is resting, his team is keeping the OKC Thunder afloat. Meanwhile, Luka has to worry about getting the lead back. Both the Thunder and the Spurs have a positive record without their superstars. The Thunder are 8-4 without Shai, and the Spurs are 10-5 without Wemby, both positive records and winning records. The Lakers are just a .500 team without Luka. That is not even enough for the play-in. So the team carrying discrepancy narrative against Luka is completely false. Shai clearly has the better team. They are also the defending champions, and they were the best defense in history. I mean, what are we even doing here? The reason why the Lakers are actually afloat is because Luka raises everybody's skill level around him. Ayton is third in the NBA in field goal percentage. Hayes, first in the NBA in field goal percentage. Rui, career high in effective field goal percentage. Reeves has a career high in points. And this isn't just a one-time thing. We saw it with Gafford and Lively. They were both 1 and 2 in field goal percentage. Kyrie had one of the most efficient seasons of his career. When Luka was on the floor, Klay Thompson was shooting 41% from 3. Gafford broke the Wilt Chamberlain record for most consecutive field goals made. You want to know why? Because Luka made his life the easiest. Now, going back to the topic of defense, let's go talk about individual defense. Kendrick Perkins, a media member who has a vote and will most likely never give Luka an MVP vote, and mind you, he never gave Jokic one when Jokic was battling Embiid for it, little suspicious, said that he did a little bit of Googling and he was on his phone for a little bit and he found out that Shai is top 3 in guards in defensive rating. Oh my god, man. I cannot believe that we are still using defensive rating to value defense in today's NBA. Defensive rating is immensely and primarily propped up by team defense. What do I have to prove this? In the 24-25 NBA season, Anthony Davis had a lower defensive rating than Luka, Jokic, and Tatum. Do you want to know why that is? Because the Lakers were losing games. Are you going to look at me with a straight face and tell me that Anthony Davis is a worse defender than Luka Doncic, Jokic, and Tatum? Seriously. To absolutely no one, not even my grandma's surprise, these are the top defensive rating leaders in the NBA. Well, would you look at that? It's full of OKC players. Of course, Shai being a part of this system is going to benefit from it. Shai is ranked 9th in his own team. He is not the reason why the Thunder are so good defensively. He's not even the 3rd or 4th best reason as to why the Thunder are so good defensively. He's ranked 9th in defensive rating on his own team. Shai doesn't have to worry about a lick of defense not one day of the season. Now, I'm not trying to undervalue Shai and say that he's not a good defender, but to use defensive rating stats to prop up his defense and his MVP campaign, that is completely unserious and unjust because it favors a team that is better defensively. And not only that, Kendrick Perkins also has zero idea how the stat is calculated, how it is affected, and what it means. He just Googled defensive rating leaders, and then he filtered for guards. He saw Shai, and then he got all happy. While we're at this topic, let's see Luka's defense this season. Now remember, the constant narrative around Luka is that he doesn't try. There is no effort There is no hustle. And for you to be a superstar, an MVP, and to win a championship, you must do this. Like Kendrick Perkins says, you have to move those puppies. Is he doing that this season? Let's see. League-wide, Luka Doncic is top 6 in charges drawn, top 20 in deflections, which puts him at the 95th percentile, 3rd in defensive rebounding amongst all guards, and top 9 in steals. That's pretty impressive for the worst defender in the NBA and the fattest ball hog. But not only is that impressive, what he's doing on the Lakers himself is even more impressive. In defensive box plus minus, he ranks first. He's top 3 in charges drawn on the team. He's first in deflections, first in defensive rebounding, first in steals, first in 3-point contests, 3rd in total contests, and 3rd in loose balls recovered. I need you to understand that you cannot do any of this if you don't try, if you don't move those puppies. You can't do any of this if you are the worst defender in the NBA. How are you top 9 in steals in the NBA and first in steals on the team, but you don't try? How do you contest the 3rd most shots on this Lakers team, but you're a bad defender? But there's more, because you were led to believe by the NBA media that there is never enough from Luka. So here's more. Up until March 18th, Luka was just allowing 0.84 points per possession in 109 isolations defended. Nearly identical to Amen Thompson and better than Jaden McDaniels and OG Anunoby. Isolation defense requires you to move those puppies and to actually try. How do we know he's actually doing good in these isolations? Because he allows the 2nd best field goal percentage amongst the high volume defenders, only 38.7%. That is extremely elite. And not only is the percentage elite, but he is in the 82nd percentile in possessions defended. That's high volume. So not only is Luka above average in isolation defense, which requires you to move those legs and actually defend, he's doing better in these isolations than guys like OG Anunoby and Jaden McDaniels. Now I know what the counter argument to that may be. Oh, Luka's guarding the worst players on every team. That's not true. Because superstars and the best players and the best scorers will hunt Luka Doncic on switches. The Lakers switch everything. Luka has no choice but to defend some of the best players in the NBA and some of the best scorers. So I'm asking myself, which is it? Does Luka defend good players and do good players actually go at him? Or does Luka defend no one? The answer is yes. Luka Doncic is guarding amazing players night in and night out. And Luka doesn't have the same luxury as Shai on the OKC Thunder. Shai has 4 players on the court at all times, all ranked amongst the top in defensive rating, and are all probably going to be awarded with either 1st, 2nd, or 3rd team all defense. And you're looking at me with a straight face and telling me that Shai has to carry a bigger load than Luka on the Lakers. Of course you are. Now here's how the previous stats that I mentioned fare up against other MVP candidates like Shai and Jaylen Brown. This metric measures a player's ability to disrupt the offense and is calculated by combining steals, blocks, deflections, and offensive fouls drawn per 75 possessions, obviously boiled down to just point guards, shooting guards, and small forwards. As you can see, Luka is still right there with Shai and amongst this group of elite defenders. Now I'm not calling Luka an elite defender, but I sure as hell am not ever going to believe the narrative that he doesn't defend, that he doesn't try, and that he's below average. That is completely false. And all these statistics are showing you that Luka might actually be at the exact same level as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I'm talking defensively. Offensively, Luka's miles ahead. And how do I know this? There is no doubt in the NBA that Luka has the most gravity in the entire league. On the left chart, you can see on-ball gravity and passing creation quality. Luka has the most on-ball gravity and generates the best looks for his teammates. So it's not only is he getting double-teamed, triple-teamed, and pulling the defense, he is creating out of that and getting the best looks for his teammates. On the other graph, once again, you can see the shot quality. Luka's all the way at the top, and surprise, surprise, Luka's not a ball hog. he has very high creation volume, meaning that Luka passes the ball. And if you don't want to believe other sources that aren't NBA that track gravity, well, here's the NBA stat. He's first in the NBA on on-ball perimeter gravity, third in the NBA in off-ball perimeter gravity, and fourth in the NBA in overall gravity. Now, you know that Luka is not that much of an off-ball player, so this stat will be lower. I think it's fair to say that the MVP narratives around Luka are completely twisted. He does defend, he does pass the ball, he dribbles less than Shai, the number one in the MVP ladder. He passes more than him, he passes as much as Jokic, he defends as much as all of them, if not more than a lot of them, except for maybe Wemby and Shai. However, the offensive discrepancy between Luka and Shai or Wemby is miles and miles and miles apart. Regardless of the defensive attention that Luka is getting, he already has 14 40-point games, a 60-point game, shooting 40% in 2026 from 3 while taking 11 threes. He's third in the NBA in assists and provides for his teammates the best shot quality in the league, all while moving those puppies and putting effort on defense. Finally, I will leave this here just so you can see what Luka has done in March. It's historic, and it doesn't compare.